everyone, today I'll be doing a quick recap of round 6 of the Tata Steel Chess Tournament 2022. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into the games. So on the first board here we have Magnus versus Richard Rapport. Richard Rapport is in the lead with Vidit and Mamedyarov, and he's playing against Magnus Carlsen here. Magnus Carlsen opened with knight f3, d5, d4, knight f6, c4, e6, and it transposed into the Catalan. D takes c4, bishop g2, knight c6, castle, and Magnus plays bishop e3 here. Rapport played rook b8 to play b5 maybe. Bishop d6, queen c1, attacking this pawn, and after b5, b3. If pawn takes, then here this knight is hanging, so he has to defend it. Bishop b7 takes, and queen takes. Knight b4. Now he removes this knight because after this knight moves, then this bishop will attack the knight. White plays a3, knight bd5, bishop g5, castles, knight bd2, h6, bishop takes, knight takes, and rook fc1. The position is still equal, although white has a lot of activity here. Knight d7, queen a4, c5, and queen takes a7 here. Black plays bishop into f3. It gives up this important bishop here, which is controlling a long diagonal. Bishop takes f3, c takes d4, and rook a2 supports the knight and can play rook c2 now. Queen e7 here, it pins this knight, although this bishop protects the queen. It still does not look good because white should be focused on stopping this pawn. a4, rook fd8, queen takes d4, rook b4, queen c3, knight b6, a5, and queen a7 now pins this pawn to the rook. Queen e3 pins the knight to the queen, and bishop e7. White has a lot of advantage here. He should have won bishop b8 to protect his queen. Still, white is a lot better. Bishop e7, rook 1 c2. He wants to protect this rook and take the knight. Bishop to g5, queen c5, bishop e7, and pawn takes. Queen takes rook, queen takes bishop, queen takes c2, and queen takes the knight. And after king h7 b7, Richard Rapport resigns. And now Magnus Carlsen has won his game and now joins the leaders. So on the second board we have Vidit Gujarati and Jan Christoph Duda. Vidit Gujarati was also leading the tournament. He plays d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, g5, knight c3, and c5. C takes d5, knight takes d5, e4, knight takes, pawn takes, pawn takes, pawn takes. Now white has a nice center here, although this diagonal is weak because there are not many pawns to stop it. Bishop b4, bishop d2 takes, and castles. Bishop c4, knight d7, and now they are trying to develop their pieces. White plays queen f4, black offers a queen trade. Knight e5, white doesn't want a queen trade. Rook e7 and queen h4. Black plays b5, rook d3. Now white wants to attack here on the king side. Black is not bothered about the king side, he is attacking on the queen side. a5, rook g3, knight into e4, rook takes, bishop takes, and queen takes. Black plays a4, bishop d1, f6, knight d3, queen d6, knight c5, rook takes, and queen a8 check. The intermediate move, king f7, pawn takes, queen takes the bishop here because bishop values more than a pawn. King h2, and it also gives a check. Queen d4, c6, rook c7, queen h8, and f5 protects the square. Queen takes h7, b4, and here both players decide to repeat the moves, and the game ends in a draw. On the third board, we have Nils Grandelius versus Mamedyarov. The game started off with knight f3, c5, c4, knight c3, knight f6, and it gets transposed to d4 only. C takes d4, e takes d4, d5, bishop g5, bishop e6, bishop e2, g6. Now black goes for this fiancetta setup. Bishop takes f6 and e takes f6. This pawn structure is double, but black will play f5 and activate this bishop. Castles, bishop g7, and c5. Now blocks the center, and not a very good choice because this pawn was both pawns were in the center here, and this pawn looks stuck, it cannot move. And also this pawn also cannot move because of this pawn. When this pawn was here, maybe it could take and then try to move, but now it can't. Castles b4, f5, queen d2, queen f6, rook fd1, g5, knight takes g5, queen takes d4. After queen takes d4, both players agree to a draw. Here, the position is a draw, but they could have played for some while, but both players agree to a draw. On board 4, we have Nils Dubov versus Esipenko. Knight f3, knight f6, g3. Notice that most games are starting off with knight f3 and they transpose bishop g2, e6 castles, and this also transposes into a d4 opening. C4, pawn takes, and queen a4. a6, queen takes c4, b5, queen c2. The queen has moved a lot of squares here. Bishop b7, bishop d2, and bishop e4. Again the queen moves. Bishop moves back because knight c3 would give it a tempo. White plays bishop f4, attacks the c7 pawn. Black plays knight d5, defends it and attacks the bishop. Knight c3, knight takes f4, and queen takes f4. White exchanges his bishop for the knight. Knight d7, rook fd1, bishop d6, knight e5, bishop into g2, king into g2, f pins the knight, but white counterattacks the queen, and black moves his queen. Queen f3, f5, b4, e5 tries to break through the center, pawn takes, knight takes, bishop takes, pins this knight, rook ac1, c6, knight b1 attacks this pawn now, rook f6, knight d2, a5, pawn takes, rook takes, and rook c5. And here, white sets up a trap. If black takes this pawn, white can play queen b3, and after queen e6, which defends this bishop and the rook, white can play rook takes e5, and after queen takes b3, knight takes b3, white is a piece up. But Esipenko saw this and played rook a6, gives more defense to this pawn, queen e3, rook e6, queen b3, pins the rook, king h8, e4, f4, and knight f3. Rook a8, rook dc1, h6, g4, bishop c7, queen c2, bishop b6. It looks like white gets the pawn, but black also has an intermediate move. And b4, queen f7, queen c5, and king h3. This pawn is unprotected, but also has some threats here. Queen into f2, queen e8, king h7. White plays knight g5, h takes g5, and both players agree to a draw, because white just has a perpetual check here. And when you see Nils Dubov's game, there is at least some interesting part in it. So moving on the fifth board, which is played between Caruana and Giri. This was a very dramatic game. It starts off with knight f3 again, d5, b3, bishop b2, but here it transposes into a different opening. Both players try to develop their pieces here, and they try to activate their pieces by maneuvering them. Knight c7 and king h1. b5, black tries to break to the queen side. Knight d4, pawn takes, knight b6, rook a1, knight a6, knight b3, bishop e7, f4. Now white is trying to play on the king side and black is trying to play on the queen side. Queen d7, f5, pawn takes, and queen f3 gives more pressure on this pawn. Knight c5, knight takes, and d4. Bishop e7, bishop h3, g6, which was a mistake, the computer says. Knight c4 could have been a better move. Now it deflects his knight, but in the game g6 was played, g4 and f4. White has a slight advantage. White plays g5, queen a7, and white takes this rook, which the computer says is a blunder. Well, on the human side, it's just taking a rook and having more material, but white is attacking here and he can get his pieces in the game. Okay, bishop takes e8 and pawn takes this knight. White plays e6, bishop takes g, defends this f7 square. White plays bishop d7, which is another blunder, and white loses his advantage. The computer says bishop a6 was a better move. His idea is after queen takes a6, he'll take this pawn, but it's not easy to see this. Bishop d7, pawn takes, and bishop takes, king h8, bishop a3. This bishop is not doing much on this diagonal because of his own pawn is blocking it. So he goes on this side, maybe to get it here. Knight c4, bishop c5, and queen g7, queen g4, bishop f6, which the computer says it's a blunder. The computer is trying to play knight d2, but bishop f6 seems right to. Rook ab1, g5, bishop f5, rook e8, and here Caruana does a big blunder and blunders his whole rook in time pressure. And here black is better because now he has some extra pawns. And after some moves, white tries hard to give perpetual check. It's not possible. Black is constantly threatening queen f2 mate. And here Caruana resigns and Giri wins the game. Here you can see the time has increased to 47 minutes from 30 seconds because after some moves you get an increase of time. And if you want to know at what move they increase their time and so on, the format schedule, then you can check this video out here. Right now let's focus on the next game, which was played between Karjakin and Jordan van Foreest. The game started off with e4 this time, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, g3, bishop c5, and c3, the Italian game. Both players develop their pieces here. Black's pieces look very bad. White breaks through the center. Black's king is still not castled, but black castles now. h3 to stop bishop g4, rook e8, bishop d3, knight e7, c4, knight e6, bishop e3. White's knight comes back. Bishop a7, black's bishop is now active again. Queen d2, knight h5, threatens knight f4, bishop f1, queen f6, d5, bishop takes, queen takes, then c5. Closes this structure. g3 stops knight f4, a4, knight d2, queen g5, wants to trade off the queens. White plays knight b5, rook d8, queen takes, pawn takes, and b4. His idea may be to activate his rook. b6, rook b1, king f8, rook e3, king e7, knight c7. It looks like the players are going to repeat the moves, but they don't. Now white will target this pawn, and now black cannot defend it. And here white slowly tries to attack that pawn, captures it, and slowly tries to open the position here, and maneuvers his pieces a lot, and here gets his pieces active. And here after some moves they try a lot, but here the Minister of Defense gets his first win of the tournament and he wins this match. Moving on to the last game, which was played between Shankland and Praggnanandhaa. This game started off with e4 and the Sicilian defense. Black goes for e5, knight d5, d6 to stop knight d6. Knight d5 takes control of the d5 square, knight d7, c4, knight g6, queen a4, bishop d7, queen b4, protects this pawn. h4, h5, bishop e2, a6, knight c3, bishop e7, g3, b5, and the pawns get traded here. White has these two passes actually. Castles a4, f5, bishop takes h5, bishop takes b5, bishop takes g6, bishop d8, and queen b3. It loses the castling, but white is fine with it. Black goes for queen a7, queen e3, queen a5, and both players repeat their moves. Even if, like suppose after queen a5, if white would not take queen c3, he would get a disadvantage, and if black would not try to give checks and go for something else, then white would be in an advantage because his pawns are promoting, and even there is a mating attack here. So the game ended in a draw, and these are the standings after round 6. Magnus Carlsen Vidit Gujarati and Mamedyarov lead the tournament with 4 out of 6 points. Esipenko, Richard Rapport have 3.5 points. Young Christoph Duda, Anish Giri, Sergey Karjakin have 3 points. Caruana, Daniel Dubov, Sam Shankland, Jordan Van Foreest, and Praggnanandhaa have 2.5 points, and Nils Grandelius has 1.5 points. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video.